I know leaders when I see them. I also know idiots when I see them. You can imagine the combination of both of them, the disaster it is. If you are a leader and an idiot, it's a disaster, absolute disaster. It is even worse, even more dangerous, if the very people who hold the power in their hands decide that they will be manipulated and played around for some interest by idiots. Really, you know, it is. I have had interactions with many of our leaders on the continent. And among other things we talk about is if we don't take ourselves and what we do seriously, nobody will. Nobody will take us seriously. And we will always remain just neither here nor there, and people doing with us whatever they want without any of us asking, say, why? What is this? And then in the end we start complaining about, oh, you know, this is racism, this is blah, 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 blah. Well, but I think we are the ones who drive ourselves in that kind of situation. There are things we need to be rejecting and doing so openly and without fear or favor. Why? Why can't we do that? Why are we not the kind of people? Why do we even need to have a problem like that one in Eastern Congo, needing a solution from the UN, from some countries? Why? Why can't we? Let me update you on some of the key issues. Regarding peace and security and politics and governance and in our region. One, in our relationship with each other and the globe as it is divided and so on and so forth. You see, there are people who, and maybe rightly so, it should really be fine. People who talk about, a lot about values and interests, and so that those must be fulfilled. I actually agree. We should all have certain values that guide us through whatever we do and over many years. But when you say that, what do you really mean? Do you mean values and interests for some and not for others? Or you mean values and interests that should apply to all of us, irrespective of where we come from? Now, if you have taken a responsibility, a global responsibility to say there are certain values you are going to insist on, you are going to push for as hard as you can, and these ones should also come along with the interests as we know them. Still, that's fine. But it also gives you a responsibility to really walk the talk, or to mean what you are saying. If you're talking about values, then I'm sure you mean that, and the first person to respect those values are those who emphasize them. But as we see things happening across the world, and I will not talk so much about other parts of the world, I confine myself to our part of the world, the region and continent. Then I also raise another question. Is there a moment where the values, where the interests people talk about become incompatible with the truth, with the facts, or with evidence? I don't think they need to be incompatible. It's actually possible to drive hard for values that you believe in, even mind so much your interests, but at the same time, those could very easily be served by truth, evidence, facts, as you interact with other people and other parts of the world. Let me give some examples, and I had the opportunity recently to address journalists, and they were bringing up questions that are important. On my mind, there is this problem we have in our region. There are many problems across the continent, but let me talk about our region. And I'm going to do that because Rwanda bears disproportionately a huge amount of burden relative to our responsibility in any wrongdoing, if at all. And again, it plays out like that, selectively, and on the basis of the disparities that are in the world, where evidence, facts, even what is right, don't really matter. What matters is what somebody else must say, irrespective of whether what they are saying takes into consideration facts, evidence, or truth. You know, the problem we have in our region, in Eastern Congo, that has brought in so many countries to be part of it from our continent, but there have been even more countries from outside of our continent involved in one way or another, and unfortunately, many times the wrong way. And this wrong way, we are told, must be the one to prevail. Now, let me start with saying, if you want to really address a problem, there is no better way of doing that than bothering to look at and addressing the root cause of that problem. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. You just stick to the basics of facts, of evidence, of reality. You just don't come in because you're powerful and, the evidence is simple. We have heard the UN, the peacekeepers under the UN in that country for close to 3 decades. The continued presence for 3 decades, when they went there to address problems, means there are still problems to address, or that actually the first problems to address were not addressed. Otherwise, why would you stay in a place purportedly to address a problem, and you are there for close to 30 years? Normally you would come in, maybe it takes you 5 years, maybe it takes you 10, and you would exit because you would have addressed the problem that brought you. So, what are the returns for that investment? Of such a big force, under such a big body like UN, and so much money spent on that, what is the return on that investment? Other than continuing to have problems getting worse. That also shows, or maybe prove, this will prove why Rwanda has to carry the burden of this problem. It is a way of escaping responsibility. That's the shortest, easiest answer when people ask, why have you been there for this time and you still want to be there? It means you didn't address the problem. So this easiest answer is no. But Rwanda keeps being part of the problem. Well, what that means, maybe you should get rid of Rwanda, to find a way of removing it from the map of, just find a way, like it happened 30 years ago. Rwanda was being destroyed to the point we should not be existing anymore. And again, associated with that, the very people who murdered people here in Rwanda, those who carried out the genocide, still exist, are still armed, are still practicing their ideology of genocide in our neighborhood in Eastern Congo, supported by government, supported by leaders in that place, on the watch of this international community that talks about values, that talks about interests, that deployed this UN force into Congo to actually eradicate, among others, that problem that originated from here, be it the genociders or the ideology itself. And people do it with impunity. And then arguments start. We have had arguments, again, through different quarters of this international community. Oh, you mean these FDLR, these genociders, but are they there? Are they still there? But we are told they are few. We are told, when you say, no, but you see it even in broad daylight. The statements made by government leaders. And you are wondering whether they still exist, whether they are there, or what they are doing, or you pretend for 30 years, you can pretend. Now the problem becomes, Rwanda is in Congo, you have forces in Congo, you are occupying Congo, you are doing what? In this day and age, and even with Rwanda, its capacity, are we people who can actually do that? That limited capacity of ours, but even why? Why do you? What came first? Is it this problem that we have to deal with? Threats, daily threats, regular threats against our country and relating to our history? Or because of that, or in addition to that, we now want to become people who can go and occupy places? Really, the people, can they convince anybody that they even believe it, or they are using it simply as an excuse? Even if you believe it, why don't you find a way of denying Rwanda this excuse and remove these people from there? Because that is even in the mission that took there the UN peacekeepers. What happened? So then, talking about ourselves. I leave many others out of this continent, outside of it. When I see, I know leaders when I see them. I also know idiots when I see them. You can imagine the combination of both of them, the disaster it is. If you are a leader and an idiot, it's a disaster, absolute disaster. It is even worse, even more dangerous, if the very people who hold the power in their hands decide that they will be manipulated and played around for some interest by idiots. Really, you know, it is. I have had interactions with many of our leaders on the continent. And among other things we talk about is, if we don't take ourselves and what we do seriously, nobody will. Nobody will take us seriously. And we will always remain just neither here nor there, and people doing with us whatever they want without any of us asking, say, why? What is this? And then in the end we start complaining about, oh, you know, this is racism, this is blah, 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 blah. Well, but I think we are the ones who drive ourselves in that kind of situation. There are things we need to be rejecting and doing so openly and without fear or favor. Why? Why can't we do that? Why are we not the kind of people? Why do we even need to have a problem like that one in Eastern Congo, needing a solution from the UN, from some countries? Why? Why can't we? There's no explanation. But at another level, we have a mix of all kinds of things. And that's why we open up ourselves for manipulation. You have seen, or you know, of a so-called group of experts. A group of experts, what do? What are they expert in, actually? They're expert in what? You don't need to be an expert in anything. You just have to toe the line of those using you, of those who put you in place, including the very people from whom originate this problem as of the history that goes way back to colonial times. The colonial times that divided our people here in Rwanda, in our region, and elsewhere. So they come, they are the experts to explain the problem. The problem is not that, do you know why these Kinyarwanda speaking people are in Eastern Congo? By the way, we have the same situation, let's say, with Uganda. The southwestern part of Uganda has a whole district with a big population of Kinyarwanda speaking. And when I'm talking about Kinyarwanda speaking, I'm not talking about just speaking Kinyarwanda. These are people even who are relatives. There are people in this country, as we speak, who have their uncles, their grandfathers, who live across on the other side of the border, and others who live here in Rwanda. Like, for example, in Uganda, there has never been a problem to do with that district. It has never caused a problem between Uganda and Rwanda. No, they are taken as Ugandans. And we accept that. We're not claiming anything. Why is it not the same with Eastern Congo? There are simply Congolese who hail from Rwanda as of history, or whatever other ways they happen to have gone there. It's a fact. So, but if you are going to have an expert who is associated in a wrong way with this history, to come and say the problem is something else, not what it is exactly, don't you have a problem? So are you going to be able to address the root cause of this problem when your first thing is to distort the facts and evidence? So that's why it is easy to blame Rwanda for it. We didn't draw borders. By the way, even the genocide ideology that I referred to earlier originates from that beginning of the history. That's where it comes from. So we go on and on and on and on for how long? So if you think Rwanda is in Eastern Congo causing problems, would you mind bothering to understand why would Rwanda be in Eastern Congo fighting there? Why? You need to answer that. It will lead you maybe to some of the things you need to address and not to run away from. But to simply keep making statements, threatening, doing all kinds of things, let me tell you, we have been there. We have paid our highest price ever in our lives, this genocide. I don't think we can be made to suffer in all kinds of ways. We can do, but we will never, never, never go back to paying that similar price we paid 30 years ago. It doesn't matter how powerful anybody is. maybe it will come to a point, if anyone insists on that, then that is maybe one way of wiping Rwanda off the map, because we will not yield an inch. Never. But we can work together to look at the causes, if we are ready to listen to each other, and address that problem the right way. But if there's somebody who is saying, no, me, I don't want to address it that way, I want to address it my way, and says, you see, if you don't allow me to address it my way, I will deny you this, I will deny you that, and I will take it to China, I will take it to Russia, I will take it. And no. But Rwanda is something we can do away with, don't worry. That is called babysitting leaders, and not pushing them to take their responsibility, but it won't work. One way or the other, it will not take us, Rwanda, back where we started from 30 years ago. No way. I know, of course, there are even some who, after 30 years, are still questioning, but what happened? Who killed who? Who, you know? The sort of pretense that exists is just what gives us that justified anger and, above all, the energy to fight back sufficiently. Now, again, to the values. You know, I keep telling people, they come, you see everything, yeah, we understand you, we see everything is okay, but you see, we are failing to explain why Rwandan forces are said to be in Congo. Oh, and I asked them, I said, even before we are sure of what we are talking about, can you explain to me why FDLR is in Congo and being supported by a government of Congo, and they have brought in Burundi under the same ideology and supposedly to fight M23, which is of Tutsi ethnicity, therefore related to Kagame and others, and these ones have no chance of living. They need to be gotten rid of. So you leave all that intact, and then you come to complain about Rwanda possibly having a force in Eastern Congo. What do you think you're really talking about? And then you say, okay, you see, you know, defensive measures that Rwanda has taken should be removed, and we shall make sure that, you know, FDLR, we get rid of it. That has been 30 years there and they have not gotten rid of it. And then you say, oh, we shall convince the government in Kinshasa. After all, you know, it is not the president who is the problem, it is his advisors, and it is, you know, these ones who are openly talking about genocide ideology are just some people. We are going to tell him to take care of them and to put them aside. I mean, this story has gone on. I mean, do you really think you are talking to kids also who? But why would you even be talking to anybody like that? So let's leave the problem as it is. Use Rwanda, be silent about it, and we'll see how we can address it. And then recently, Rwanda blamed, we didn't go to Rwanda. Rwanda, I'm friends with the Angolans and the president and Rwanda and so on. But that was not a visit of that kind. It was a visit to address problems. It was not a visit to have an opportunity to take pictures and... No. It's not going to be the case. The problem must be addressed, and it can be addressed. It can be addressed. We all need peace. Rwanda actually needs peace more than anybody, because we have already tested the lack of it and the meaning of that. And then to see the double standards and the hypocrisy that add up to really nothing. You know, we talked earlier about elections we had here and so on and so forth. And so people tell us they want democracy everywhere. They encourage elections. The person who is causing problems in this situation I'm talking about between Rwanda and DRC has never, twice, been elected. And you know it. You know it. But this is why I was saying it doesn't matter evidence, it doesn't matter facts, it doesn't matter the claim. It's just what you think applies to you for that moment, for your benefit. The rest doesn't matter. This man, Tshisekedi, was never elected first. He didn't at all. And you know it. So I'm not telling anyone, only that you don't talk about it publicly, I'm talking about it publicly. That's the only difference. You know it. The second time, nothing happened, and you know it. So, what the values are you telling us that you beat up some people for, and then others you don't know what to do? So you think I realize that and really respect you for it, or even listen to what you tell me that doesn't add up to anything? So, I know I'm talking to innocent people here, all of us. Because some of you even representing the countries that cause us so much trouble. I'm sure I don't want to claim too much, but I think you understand, and maybe you report rightly what needs to be reported. But in the capitals, there are people who no, we want this to happen like this, and it doesn't matter what you tell them. But while that can happen, it affects you the least. It affects me the most. I can't afford to behave the way you want me to behave in dealing with this problem. I can't. It's life and death to me and my people. For you, it's just something you talk about, or you can call and give instructions while you are playing football, or you are playing tennis, or doing golf. It is as simple as that for you.